So I just got home from checking out Superman 2025, written and directed by James Gunn, and this is technically their first live-action film within this new timeline of DCEU, kind of, but this is the first one that James Gunn and Peter Safran are releasing as kind of like the relaunch of the DCU on the big screen. And look, a lot of people are still going to be really butthurt around everything that happened with Henry Cavill and the way that they chose to wrap up the Snyderverse, the DCEU. They kind of just threw it to the wayside. Certain things are transitioning over, certain things aren't, and the way they handled Henry Cavill, teasing more Superman with him, ultimately for them to pull the rug from both under us and him and say that there's not more Superman coming with Henry Cavill. I don't really like the way they handled it. I think most people would say that. But here we are with a new film in the franchise, the first of this new Superman. And I think David Corenswet was fantastic in the role as both Clark Kent and Superman. He captured that lighthearted, hopeful tone that Superman is known for. And, you know, even bringing back the trousers is a choice for sure. But I think that the film leans into it in such a way that makes you feel like, yeah, this is Superman. There were so many moments in this film and great shots of David Corenswet in this film after really great moments with that hopeful John Williams score being reprised behind it that ultimately had me looking at the screen feeling like a kid and thinking, this feels like Superman. Overall, when it comes down to the way that this film looks and feels, it feels hopeful, bright, and fun. There's that great sense of drama and stakes while also having its foot firmly planted and feeling like a comic book movie again and leaning into the ideals of hope and kindness and the themes that Superman is known for. And I think the rest of the cast is great. Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, as well as the other Hall of Justice characters in the mix like Mr. Terrific or Hawkgirl or Guy Gardner, aka Green Lantern. I thought that all the cast was really good. And if I had to lean into any gripes I had with the film, I would ultimately say that it does feel a little overstuffed with characters both as villains and as heroes, but I think for the most part, if you've seen James Gunn's other comic book films like the Guardians of the Galaxy films or even the Suicide Squad, then you know that he's really good when it comes down to ensemble cast. And I think that this film is no different, because while I do feel like it was overstuffed at times and there are certain characters that don't get enough to do in the film, I think he ultimately balanced it all pretty well and made a really fun comic book film that leans back into the heart and soul of what Superman is all about. I'll say this, if you're going into this film expecting dark, gritty Superman that's grounded, you're not going to get that. But if you're going into this hoping for a bright, fun comic book film that leans into what Superman is all about, then I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. There's great setup for the future while also telling its own story here. And you have Krypto the Superdog, who's just fun, cute, and charming, and some fun cameos that I think are going to excite a lot of people for what they do in the future. I really enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the way this film was paced. I enjoyed the performances. You should watch it.